Tonight, the murder of a Federal Way teenager could have been solved years earlier.
It would have been basically instantaneous.
A crime-solving tool cracking cases nationwide is not being used here.
I have to say that the detectives have never given up.
KIRO 7 investigates the delay in using this DNA technology. Detectives claim the cold case could have been solved more than a decade ago.
KIRO 7's Amy Clancy shows us how familial searching works and why our crime lab isn't using it.
DNA collected at crime scenes is often entered into a database of convicted felons only called CODIS. If there is no match to ID a suspect, an additional familial search could be done to identify immediate family members, parents, siblings, offspring of the DNA donor. The tool could have identified the brother of the suspect arrested in the Sarah Yarborough case as early as 2005.
That's frustrating.
These three King County Sheriff's Office detectives worked nearly 28 years to ID a suspect in the 1991 murder case of 16-year-old Sarah Yarborough.
I stayed a couple years extra because of that case.
Jim Allen and Tom Jensen are now retired and believe the case could have been solved 14 years ago.
Knowing that the possibility was there in 2005 and knowing that with 14 years passed, it's frustrating.
Early last month, Patrick Leon Nicholas was arrested and charged with Yarborough's murder. His older brother, Edward Peter Nicholas Jr., is a convicted rapist and registered sex offender whose DNA was entered into CODIS in 2005. After that time, had DNA collected at the Yarborough crime scene been used for a familial search, it could have led to the older brother. Further investigation would then have led to Patrick Leon Nicholas.
And he was taken into custody without incident.
According to Detective Kathy Decker, who closed the Yarborough case.
Had we had the opportunity and ability years ago to run familial testing, we would have identified conceivably that brother, and it would have helped us to narrow down and figure out who ultimately was responsible for this particular crime.
Instead, DNA left at the Yarborough crime scene was used in a genealogy search that, after 8 years of investigating, led all the way back to the 1600s.
That there was some kind of relation to the Fuller family who came over on the Mayflower.
In this case?
In this case.
All three detectives believe a familial DNA search
It would have been basically instantaneous. And I knew that familial searching was available, but our lab wasn't doing it.
Every county, state, city jurisdiction in the state of Washington is going to have a case or two or three that would benefit from being able to utilize familial DNA testing.
But you simply can't because the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab will not process it.
Correct.
So we took that question straight to Olympia.
Why won't the Washington State Patrol use familial searching?
It's not that we won't, it's that we don't right now.
Chris Loftus, the director of communications for the WSP, said the state's crime labs have been ordered by the legislature to process more than 9,000 backlogged rape kits. He said that is the lab's top priority and must be cleared by May of 2022. So for now, familial searching is on the back burner.
It's not being ignored, it's not being dismissed, it's being evaluated. This is not a light switch, this is a process. It's a complicated process on legal, practical, ethical issues, and we've just got to navigate all those issues.
What's the problem?
Former California prosecutor Rock Harmon so strongly believes the legal argument against familial searching is a red herring, he flew to Seattle just to sit down for an interview with KIRO 7.
There's no legal issue that you can pin on familial searching.
Harmon fought for familial testing in California, where it led to the arrest and conviction of the Grim Sleeper nearly 10 years ago. In that case, a familial search first identified Lonnie Franklin Jr.'s son, which then led to Franklin, who killed 10 women over a 22-year period.
We have a provision you can repeat it every year. They repeated it a year later. One thing changed. The son had been arrested, convicted, and was in the database. So when the son wasn't in there, nobody's on the list. When the son's in there, he's the son or the father of the person who left the evidence.
Familial searching also identified 54-year-old Mark Mitchum behind bars in Arizona for child molestation. His DNA led investigators to his brother, Ian Mitchum. now charged with the 2015 death of Allison Feldman in Scottsdale.
Knowing that he's not walking the streets tonight and living his life is somewhat comforting for us.
As a former prosecutor and forensic expert who has studied DNA evidence laws in Washington state and nationwide, Harmon believes there are no legal reasons against familial searching.
There has never been a legal challenge to familial searching in 10 years.
These 3 homicide detectives, with experience going all the way back to the Green River Killer investigation, are weary of any roadblock that keeps them from doing their jobs and want familial searching available statewide as soon as possible.
They owe it to the public to let the police do the best job they can. And if familial testing is part of that, then we should be doing it.
It's ridiculous right now that we're not able to solve cases that we could solve so easily.
And another point that Detective Jensen made, familial searching might help identify 3 Green River Killer victims whose names are still unknown. And they all tell me a familial search result is a lead only. Further investigation is needed before any arrests can be made.
Clearly, everyone wants these cases solved. There's some disagreement about legal issues connected to it. Has the Attorney General weighed in on this?
Washington State Patrol Director of Communications Chris Loftus told me he asked and was told that any conversations about familial searching with the AG's office are confidential. But we will continue to follow this because more states are adopting it, but so far not here.
And because it is so important for the families of those victims.
And they all agree on that.
Yeah. All right. Amy, thanks.